Hey students, Coach Wes here. For those of you working on or trying to perfect your aerial cartwheel and front aerial, I'd like to do a brief tutorial here and show you the different use of the arms when you enter the aerial. Let's break this one down first. This is Shannon Miller, by the way, in the coach in the background. She's a gold medalist from the 90s. Very good gymnast, very accomplished, multiple gold medalist, I should say, World Games and Olympics. And she's working on a tutorial for the aerial with this particular student. Now, I want to contrast this student, her use of arms in the aerial, and another student, and how she uses the arms in another tutorial. They're different, but they both work. And I've taught this in class before. You may or may not remember this, but I want to detail this a little bit in this video tutorial. So let's watch how she uses the arms. Notice that she's standing. I've got this in slow motion coming up. Watch her arms. Now she's going to circle the arms from the back. Notice how they came around from the back. And now she's down on her lunge leg. And now notice her shoulders are beginning to turn as if she were doing a normal cartwheel, but her hands are never going to go on the floor. Now, she's got her right leg in front. She's going to reach out with her left arm, which will be straight, and her right arm will pull underneath her body toward her left hip. And I'll freeze it there. Watch her right arm at this point. Push and pull the arm up. Notice where her elbow is. Now her arm is bent. This is perfectly acceptable. Some girls do this with the arm straight, some with the arm bent. Most girls keep the other arm that reaches out first straight. This helps lift. Now notice the large split in her legs. Let's see how she lands now. She comes around, lands on the foot at this point. Now that she'll lift the chest out and up and finish the aerial. Okay, let's watch this again. Now, one thing I want you to watch also is I want you to watch her hips in relation to her foot, her first foot that she places on the ground, the lunge leg in front. That would be her right leg. Watch her hips. I'm going to freeze this and talk about this. So she reaches out with the lunge leg. Now, her hips are slightly behind that foot when she begins to drive that left leg. This is very important. That's the center of gravity or center mass of your body. You want that force coming out of that lunge leg, which in this case is her right leg, pushing that center mass upward, while the back leg, the left leg, kicks over the top and helps your body to rotate. Now the arm that comes under, both arms help you to lift, but the arm that comes underneath, the right arm in this case, also helps to lift powerfully. Now watch, I'm going to try to freeze this as she pushes out of the toes. Right there. Didn't freeze it very well, did I? Okay, let's go back and try to freeze that. If I can find this. Let's watch and try to freeze it. Okay, right there. Now she hasn't quite finished pushing out of the toes yet. Let's see if I can freeze it when she's pushed out of the toes. I want you to notice the position of her hips when she finally pushes out of the toes. Her hips will be literally directly above her foot. See, they're almost above her foot in this case as it is. Boom, right there. Well, it was pretty close, but you can see my point. The point is I don't want you to run all the way across the gym floor when you do an aerial. I want you to learn how to do the aerial out of one step like this girl did when she started. This is how I want you to learn your aerial because I want you to eventually be able to do your aerial on the beam. Now, let's contrast this against another aerial where the arm reaches on the outside of the leg rather than on the inside in this case. You can see her left arm is on the inside against her chest and is bent. Also notice the position of her head. She's looking right at the floor, directly at the floor in this case, as she kicks over into the large split. Let's watch her finish. And she keeps looking at the floor, finishes, lifts her chest and arms. Okay, this is a girl, a student, doing an aerial cartwheel through a tutorial with Shawn Johnson. Shawn Johnson was a more recent gold medal Olympic champion. And you'll see the use of her arms. I want you to watch the use of her arms. This is interesting because she's also going forward with her right leg. So let's watch how this girl does it. She also does an excellent, excellent aerial. Okay. Arms come up. Now see how the arm sweeps out to the side as she begins to go forward onto the right leg, which is her lunge leg. All right. Notice the position of her hips. Her hips are back. Arms are coming through. Now, notice the difference here. Okay. Everything is the same, but notice her right arm is straight and on the outside of her leg, whereas in the other aerial that you saw, the girl had the arm bent and against the chest on this side of the leg. This one's in back on the other side of the leg. Both are correct, by the way. Both are correct. Notice the position of the head looking at the ground, and notice that when she finished pushing out of the foot, her center mass, which are her hips, were directly above her foot when she drove the left leg, in this case, to the large split and lifted. Watch the landing. Eyes still facing the ground. Foot comes down. Other foot levers down as her chest lifts up. And that's the difference. There's Shawn Johnson, and you may recognize her in the front. So those are the differences between the two aerials and the use of arms that I teach. Either are correct. It's whichever you're comfortable with. A lot of girls typically learn to do it with their arm bent and against the chest, as you saw with the first girl. Perfectly fine. Whatever's comfortable, whatever works for you. This is a little bit, in my opinion, this aerial that this girl just did here with the arm straight is a little bit prettier. Looks a little bit more elegant on the beam when you do it. And might even actually give a little bit more lift. Depending on the how you look at the use of the arms. Okay, that's my little mini aerial tutorial. Of course, you always want to start with your cartwheel, one-handed cartwheels, learning how to drive your back leg, push off the lunge leg. But again, I want to emphasize, do not run across the mat when you do an aerial. Don't take a bunch of steps. That doesn't do you any good. All you have to do is convert that momentum into lift. The only way to do that is by getting that lunge leg out in front of the hips. That's why I encourage only taking one step, as you saw in both of these cases, into the aerial and learning how to push your body up and use your arms correctly so that eventually you can do it on the balance beam. Thanks again. Send me any videos that you have. I'll be glad to run over them.